Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Christina Coleman, one half of Coleman Events, and today we bring for you a flower that we're going to paint. Before we get started, if you have a Coleman Events paint pouch, please open up your pouch and take everything up out of your pouch. You want to make sure that everything's within arm's reach so that you can reach everything because once you get started, it's going to move a little quickly and you don't want to get left behind. So you want to take your apron that's provided in your kits and put those on. That apron is going to protect your clothing from the paint. We're working with acrylic paint, and that paint dries very, very fast and very, very permanent. So you want to make sure you are protecting your clothing. But do not be afraid if you get the paint on your hands or your arms, it does wash off with soap and water. If you get it on a tabletop, it does come off with the Clorox wipe. But for some reason, it just does not come off of clothing. You want to go ahead and make sure you have water in your cups because we're going to use that water to clean off our brushes during painting. And you want to make sure your canvas is on a flat surface. You want to do that because when you're painting, you have better control of the paint and how it falls and drips on your canvas versus being on the easel at an angle. And last but not least, you want to go ahead and open up the paint pots. Now, we're going to show you how. You're going to hold the base and you're going to flip up the left flat. If you use that left flat to flip it up, it'll open up nice and easy peasy. So, our artist with us today is Mr. Jamar Sweet. He's going to take you through how to paint this beautiful sunflower and make it your own masterpiece. So, without further ado, we're going to give it over to Mr. Sweet.
Hello and good day to you all. Here we are. We are going to paint the pink sunflower slash daisy, whatever you want to call it. It's a flower. All right. So this is a pretty straightforward painting. There is not too much color to it. So we're just going to do a base of pink for the flower. We're going to add some accents, some highlights to it. The background, we're going to do yellow. And then feel free to add any type of designs, words, anything you want to add to it. Butterflies, ladybugs. There's plenty of room here to kind of do whatever you want to do. You might have to use the paint that we have here. So we have pink, yellow, white, and black. So we're just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to take the larger brush, put that into the water, dry it off a little bit, and go right into the pink. And I'm just going to start along the outside and get as close to the outline as possible. Try not to go over the black outline because we're going to be doing a yellow background. So we're not going to be able to cover that up. So what I do is I start out as close to it as possible, and then I'll use the smaller brush to fill in the edges. So once you fill in the edges, you can just go ahead and fill in the center as well. I'm kind of going all over. You can just make sure you go one at a time. So just get as close to the outline as you can without going over. As you notice, I'm not using very much water. The less water you use, the quicker it'll dry. And the brighter your paint will be. So once you have most of the flower filled in, just go ahead and spread around the last little bit of paint. If you have any wet spots, use that to go closer to the edge. Fill in any blank spots that you may have. All right, so once you have most of that filled in, you don't have to go as fast as me, but I'm just trying to show you what we're doing. Okay. So you can rinse that brush off and then use your smaller brush, same color. And then you just go ahead and get closer to the edge. You can use a little bit more water this time, spread the paint around a little bit. And since we have an outline, it's just like coloring in a coloring book. Try to stay inside the lines. Go.
And remember, you can always pause the video and take your time because Mr. Sweet, like he said, he does paint pretty fast. You can pause the video, take your time, touch up, and then start again.
So all we're doing is just filling in the empty spaces that we didn't get with the larger brush. Using a little bit of water, thin the paint out. That way it spreads a little bit more evenly and it lasts a little bit longer. All right, so that's that. Just filling in all the blank spots here. All right. Now, those of you who would like to have just a solid color, you can leave it like this. And if there's anybody that wants to get a little bit more adventurous, I'll teach you what you can do. You can use the same color that you have and add a little bit of black, not too much. That's actually too much. You just want a shade darker than what we have. And then I'm going to show you what you can do. There we go. It's starting to mix a little bit. So once you mix in a little bit of the black, it's going to turn it almost purple, like a darker purple. Mix, 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 mix. And you can use the same large brush, and you just take a little bit of the darker color and you can just go around the edges. Give the leaves of this flower a little bit of texture. Just shading it a little bit. Just a little bit. It's very subtle. Because you would notice that if it was a real flower, there would be different shades of colors on the leaves, on the petals, I'm sorry. So that's all we're doing is just adding a little bit of shade, some texture. A little bit of dark. And I'm just adding that to the outside of each petal. And then just bringing it in. I think that's all of them. No, we got one more over here. So now I'm just using the brush to kind of smooth everything out, cover up any light spots that we left. And you notice that also adds texture. A little bit more, and that's it. And again, you don't have to do this. This is just added effect. You can leave it the flat pink as well. It's still going to come out very nice. Either way. All right. So now I'm going to wash that brush off. Go back with the smaller brush. And I'm going to go right into the yellow. And we're going to do the inside of the flower. I like to use a circular motion with the brush when I'm doing circles. Just makes it an easier way to paint it, in my opinion. But whatever's comfortable for you. All right. So the original painting has a black background, looks like maybe some stars. You know, we're going to brighten it up a little bit. We're going to make the background yellow. And that's pretty simple at that point. We're just going to use the same paintbrush, wash it off, wet it, and just start in the corners and just put the yellow in the entire background. Try not to get it into the pink. Same thing, get as close as you can, and then we'll use the smaller brush to fill in those tight spots. So once you put all this yellow on here, it's going to be very bright, and it'll be an open, you have some open space over here. There really isn't a right or wrong way to display this. You could leave it sideways, you could turn it the other way, the long way, however you decide your flower is sitting. It's all up to you. So I'm just covering the background with yellow paint. Using a little bit more water this time, spreads the paint out a little bit faster. Simple painting, but it's a fun painting. So I'm just trying to get close to the flower without mixing the paint. So I did a pretty good job of that. All right, so once you get the entire canvas filled, all you have left is to use the smaller brush to get the edges. And then, like I said, you can add, there's a lot of negative space over here that you can add whatever you want. You have black paint, you have pink, you have white. You can put positive messages, your name. Might want to paint a bird, insect, bee, ladybug, all those types of things you might find near flowers. Or what I think I'm going to do, I might add a leaf or a couple of leaves. There we go. So now I'm just going around the edges here. it's not on. No, it's not on. I cut it off. All right. So once you have the yellow filled in, you can outline the flower if you want. I usually outline designs like this, makes them stand out a little bit more. This one looks like it would probably be good with a white outline instead of a black, but you could outline it as you choose. You'll notice that you still see some of the black that I used to draw the flower on itself. That's black ink or Sharpie. But I think I'm going to cover it in white. All right, so there we go. You have your solid yellow background, pink flower. If you want, you could mix in a little bit of the black and yellow together. Gives you kind of a darker yellow, brownish green. The original painting has some texture inside, sort of like a sunflower would have. It's pretty much just using dots. Or you could just use the brush itself just to kind of add some color in there. You can do either one. I think I'm going to do both. I'm going to use the brush strokes and then I'm going to use the dots on the other side. Just so it's not flat and looks like a sticker. This way it has some texture to it, some shading. There we go. It's a little bit darker than the yellow that's on the outside. That's what I was looking for. Separate those two colors. You can still add the dots there. So then you just smooth it out a little bit. And that is that. There are a few white highlights that we have on the petals. Looks like each petal has about 3 of the white highlights. We're just gonna paint them in one by one, and then try to blend them in. So it just starts at the base here, and you just bring the lines out. 1, 2, 3. Give each one 3 brush strokes. 1, 2, and 3. Use the same brush. You don't want to add more paint. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Might want to add a little bit of more. And last one. 1, 2, and 3. What you can do is you can dry the brush off, clean it, and then just blend them in even more if you want. Just fan them out. And that's it. Like I said, I'm going to outline my flower in white, but you can do yours in any color that you like. Use a little bit of water, thin the white out a little bit. I'm just going to use a solid white line around each flower petal. You'll still see the black underneath, that's fine.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming and joining us in our journey of painting this beautiful pink sunflower with this beautiful sunshiny bright background. And of course, you do not have to make it exactly as what we did. What we're doing is just giving you kind of a guide, a base, where you want to start, a starting off point. But then you have the creative license to make it your own, make it your own masterpiece. You can add whatever you want, polka dots, stripes, whatever the case may be. This is your painting to create and make it as beautiful as you want it to be. So again, we thank you for joining Coleman Events today with artist Jamar Sweet, and we'll see you again next time. Have a good day.